This is review number 3 for our quiz on 4.1 through 4.6. Number 1, Paolo's Portraits charges $12 per photo with no sitting fee. The graph shows the fees for Clear Image Studios. Which statement is true? Well, first, for Paolo, we know that it's $12 per photo. So really, his equation is P equals 12x. Now let's do the same thing for the cost set Clear Image. I notice that when I rise 12, I run 2, so my slope here is 12 over 2, which is equal to 6. So the equation for Clear Image's cost is $6 per photo. And remember, we are looking at number of pictures compared to the cost. So that would be $6 per photo and $12 per photo for Paolo. So let's see. Clear Image charges $6 per photo. Well, that's the answer. But let's go double check the others to make sure. Clear Image charges $12 per photo. No, they wanted you to look at the 12 and be interested, but no, it's 12 over 2, which is 6. C, Paolo's charges less than Clear Image. No, he charges twice as much. And D, the studios charge the same amount, and they don't. Number 2, write a function that matches the table. Well, first let's get slope. We keep going up by 5 every time for the x's as we go up by 10 on the y's. So our slope is equal to 10 over 5, which is 2. So far we know this much. Y equals 2x plus b. Too many letters at this point to solve for b, but we can take an ordered pair. I know you usually like the positive ones. Me too. We'll plug in a 6 for y. 2 is our slope times 5 for x plus b. 6 equals 2 times 5, which is 10, plus b. Subtract 10 to both sides, and b is equal to -4. So when we have b and we have m, we can write our equation. Y equals 2x minus 4. And this is the answer to the question. By the way, really quickly, we could have noticed that our y-intercept was -4. When x is 0, then we see our y-intercept is -4. But you won't have that every time. Number 3, a plant is a certain height. The height of the plant is measured for several weeks. The graph shows the height of the plant for each week. Which statement is true? Show your work. All right, well, first let's just go ahead and calculate our slope. Our slope is equal to our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. 14 minus 12 over 6 minus 2. So we've got 2 over 4, which is equal to 1/2. And 0.5 might be helpful for this problem. And we've got our slope. So far, we know this much. Y equals 1/2 x plus b. Once again, too many letters to solve for b, so let's plug in an ordered pair. For y, we'll plug in 12. For x, we'll plug in the 2. And 1/2 times 2 is 1. 12 equals 1 plus b, then b must be 11. So now we can write our equation. Y equals 1/2 x plus 11, where the 1/2 is the rate of growth, and the 11 is the initial height. So let's go answer the question. C, the plant grew 1 inch per week? No, the rate was 1/2. The plant grew 2 inches per week? No, the rate was 1/2. 1 inch per 2 weeks. Uh, A, the initial height of the plant was 12 inches. No, they kind of want you to pick that 12 from right here, but no, we calculated the initial height. It was 11 inches. Number 4, regular burritos cost $2.95 each, and deluxe burritos cost $4.95. Which equation can be used to find the total cost C of any number of deluxe burritos B? So I want ones that use cost C for burritos B. Well, let's rule out this one because that B there, and this one, that B there. So let's look at A and C. The difference is the slope here is 295 and the slope here is 495. Well, notice they want us to calculate for deluxe burritos, which they have told us cost 495. So our equation will be choice C. Number 5, what is the domain of the given relation? Well, remember your domain are your x values, and I'll underline my x's. One other difference between just listing 13, 12, 5, and -8, I have to put those in order from least to greatest, and that would be choice B. Number 6, the graph shows the number of batches of cookies made with cups of flour. Write the equation to find the number of batches of cookies Y you can make with any number of cups of flour. Well, first let's go calculate our slope. When we rise up to 1, we are running 2. So our slope is equal to 1 over 2. Our y-intercept is an obvious 0. So here's our equation. Y equals 1/2 x. And that just means we can make a half a batch of cookies per cup of flour. Number 7, given the function f of x equals 1/4 x plus 2, carefully select values for x to complete the table, then graph those values. Well, you could put in 1, 2, 3, and so on. However, we've got to multiply that by a 1/4. And I wouldn't want to multiply those numbers by 1/4. So let's try again. My denominator is 4, therefore I would like my x values to be multiples of 4, such as -4, and 0 is always wonderful to plug in, +4, and +8. Now all of these might not fit on our graph, but let's go ahead and calculate those values. So when we plug in 1/4 times -4 over 1 plus 2. 1/4 of -4 is -1 plus 2 is 1. Now let's plug in 0, my favorite. 1/2 times, 1/4 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. 1/4 times 4. 1/4 of 4 is 1 plus 2 is 3. And finally, let's plug in 8. 1/4 of 8 plus 2. 1/4 of 8 is 2 plus 2 is 4. Now let's go graph these. When x is -4, y is 1. When x is 0, y is 2. When x is 4, y is 3. And I don't have room for the last point, but I can see that these 3 are linear, so I've done something right. I'm not done graphing though. We could have picked other numbers besides the one we chose to represent that. We would connect that with a straight edge, and don't forget your arrows. One other thing you should notice, we've got a y-intercept here of 2, and to get more points we could rise 1 and run 4. That would be another way to graph that same line. However, you would still need to fill in your table. Number 8, May is saving money for college. She has $150, add a dollar symbol here, and plans to deposit another $50 on the first of each month. Write a function to represent her savings for any number of months. Well, they said function, so I'm going to use f of x equals. Her rate of saving is $50. per month, plus she already has $150 saved. Now let's make a table for 2, 3, 4, and 5 months. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our rule here is 50x plus 150. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause and plug in my numbers. So 50 times 2 is 100, plus 150 is 250. 50 times 3 is 150, plus 150 is 300. 50 times 4 is 200, plus 150 is 350, and our last one is 400. So we have done that. But we also need to graph. But to graph, we should also be labeling our axes. So our x-axis would be our number of months, and our y-axis would be our savings. And we would measure those in dollars. Well, our number of months we can count by ones. And our savings we can count, let's see, there is room to count by 50s, so that's what I'm going to do. So if this is 50, this is 150, and 250, 350, and 450. Okay, so our first ordered pair is 2 and 250, and that would be here. And then 3 and 300, 4 and 350, and 5 and 400. Okay, now we've got to decide if this is discrete or continuous. Certain situations depend. On this one, we see that May is depositing on the first of each month. That's once a month and only once a month, so she wouldn't be making little deposits in between. So this, now it does continue on. There could be an arrow, but I'm not going to connect it with a line, and that's why this is discrete. May deposits once a month only. Oh, so it's discrete. And then D, what is the dependent variable? Well, what depends is the amount saved. So the independent variable would be the number of months. Remember, whatever's on your y-axis will be your dependent variable, and whatever's on your x-axis will be your independent variable. Number 9, cable TV costs $25 per month plus a one-time installation fee. For 2 months of cable, Christina spent a total of $95. Assume the relationship is linear. Write an equation that shows the total cost for cable, C of M, as a function of the number of months M. And what does the y-intercept represent? So what have they given us? It costs $25 per month. That's our slope. And right here, the 2 months for $95, that's actually an ordered pair. So we've got our slope equals 25, and we've got the ordered pair of 2 months going with $95. By the way, time is almost always going to be an x coordinate, and money will almost always be your y coordinate. Not always, but most of the time. So here's what we know so far. And actually, let's not use y. Let's use C of M because that's what they asked for. So C of M equals, well, our slope is 25, but we don't know our B. And at this point, we've got too many letters to solve for our B. So let's plug in our ordered pair, our X and our Y. Our Y value will go in for C of M. And our X value will go in for our number of months, that's a 2. And now we can solve for B. So 95 equals 50 plus B. If I subtract 50 from both sides, then we find out that B is 45. So we can finally write our equation. Here's the answer to number 1. C of m equals 25m plus 45. Now let's go answer number 2. They want to know, what does the y-intercept represent? Well, that's this value here. And so we found that there was a one-time installation fee, and that's what the $45 is. So the install fee is $45. All right, that is the end of review number 3. Study these problems. You've had 2 other reviews, and you need to be ready for your test.